Cinema St. Louis and the St. Louis Science Center have collaborated to create a science fiction and fantasy short film showcase for filmmakers in our region. Here today from Cinema St. Louis is Brian Spath. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Spath.
Spath. You got it right the first time. That's okay.
I just shouldn't say it too much, you know. Well, it's always great. We love having Cinema St. Louis here. So what's on the calendar next? We've got this film festival, and you're currently seeking registration and submissions.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah. So we're asking filmmakers in more or less the Midwest region to submit their science fiction and fantasy short films to this contest. It's really a twofold thing. So that we have what the Science Center and Cinema St. Louis is calling the Film Festival. And then as part of that, we're also doing a First Friday event around the science behind filmmaking.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So is that the same date? We're talking about the film festival itself will not happen until May 4th.
Correct. Yeah.
So right now
May
we're
4th
focusing
is the
on
First Friday event.
Got it.
Yeah.
So that's when the first.
And submissions are open for this competition until March 30th.
So let's talk about the criteria.
Okay.
I mean, science fiction. I was noticing your
yeah, my little
Ghostbusters
Slimer,
pin,
yeah.
And I said, does that fall into the category of science fiction? I mean, what is the criteria?
I guess more or less, yeah, it would fall into science fiction because you think about the equipment that they use to capture, to combat and capture ghosts is really kind of something straight out of science fiction. So we're asking for science fiction and fantasy submissions, and we specifically ask for two separate styles of film because sometimes fantasy can fall under science fiction and vice versa, but we want to be explicit in what we're seeking, and we want people to know that we're open to both types of film. And science fiction can really fall into any number of different subgenres as well. You think about a film like Ghostbusters that is classified as can be classified as science fiction or paranormal or comedy, but we're looking at films, whether it's something like Star Wars, where set in a galaxy far away in a time long ago, but there are a lot of sci-fi elements, the spaceships, the droids, the robots, the laser swords, things of that nature really fall hard under science fiction. But then you think too of what elements of that falls under fantasy. Or if you think of more specifically Lord of the Rings, that falls under fantasy elements. So we're looking for filmmakers just to use their most creative elements and show us what they've got.
So it's kind of creative elements both on the creative side and sort of the production side, but as well as the storyline as well.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
5 minutes is the max duration?
5 minutes is the max duration, but it can be, if you've got something that's 30 seconds, but really kind of captures the imagination and creativity of science fiction and fantasy very well, then we're very open to seeing it.
Okay, so filmmakers out there, they hear this, they can submit until March 30th.
Correct.
And then there's cash prizes, is that right?
Yeah, cash prizes. We're going to have a Best of Fest prize, and then a Best Science Fiction and a Best Fantasy prize, as well as a number of other awards, Best Effects, Best Graphics, Best Acting, Best Direction, things of that nature. But the main awards will be cash prize awards.
That's fantastic. I've always found with science fiction, sometimes fantasy, that there's like an insight there that actually it seems like predicting something that happens. Doesn't it feel like almost, not every science fiction film, but so many that were even back when I was growing up, these things have actually happened or been invented or occurred. Not all of them, but some. I've always wondered what, with writers and filmmakers behind science fiction, is that insight coming from novels? Is it coming from just... Where does it come from?
It's just you look at the way of the world and the way that, especially technology, the way that it progresses. And I think a good example of that is Star Trek. You look at some of the things that they, the automatic doors, communication devices, things of that nature. You just look at the way that the world is progressing, and you kind of just you see the sort of the spaghetti method. You throw something up on the wall and you see what sticks, what's actually going to work and come to pass. And a lot of times people look back on you have speculation on the way the world's going to be. People always joke about jetpacks and hover cars and things of that nature. And we're not quite there yet, but those things are in development. Certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. Drones, FaceTime. There's so many things.
Yeah.
It's just one of these submissions. You never know. It could be a story that could happen in fact down the road.
Yep.
Well, we've got the information there for you on the screen. It's Cinema St. Louis and the St. Louis Science Center. They're coming together to put together a science fiction and fantasy short film festival. So registrations and submissions are currently being accepted, and that's now through March 30th. You can go to cinemastlouis.org for more information and head to their website and get all the details. But don't go anywhere. We're going to have more with Cinema St. Louis right after this break.